Welcome to the Silent Hours Tales, where the darkness speaks. Beware what lurks in the shadows. Before there was life and before there was death, there was a condition. Not a place in the way we understand places, and not a moment in time. It was a state of existence where nothing needed to move because nothing had ever ended. In this condition, there was no separation between awareness and form. Everything that existed remained whole. When ancient civilizations tried to understand death, they did not begin with what comes after. They began with what is lost. They noticed that when a living being dies, something leaves. Not the body stays. What leaves is attention, awareness, the sense of being present. And wherever something leaves, it creates an absence. Early texts from cultures that never met, never traded, and never shared language describe the same idea. A pause, a stillness, a quiet interval between existence and whatever comes next. They described it as neither light nor darkness, but something balanced between the two. Not empty, but not alive. This was the earliest description of what we now call the middle world. The middle world stabilized when the first conscious being died and did not immediately disappear. That delay, that hesitation between presence and absence is where the middle world took shape. Over time, as more beings passed through this state, the condition began to develop structure. Not walls, not geography, patterns, repetition, memory. And slowly, the middle world became something that could be returned to, a place souls passed through not because they were sent, but because there was nowhere else to go yet. This is not a story of punishment, and it is not a story of reward. It is the story of transition, of waiting, of awareness learning how to exist without a body. The earliest awareness in the middle world was subtle. There was no thought as we understand it, no memories, no desires, no fear, only observation, a faint noticing of absence and presence, and the slow stretching of consciousness into something that could recognize itself. Time did not pass as it does in the world of the living. Moments stretched, moments collapsed. Awareness drifted, untethered, finding patterns where none had existed before. The first forms of repetition began to emerge, faint echoes of things that had lived, whispers of voices long gone, the faint sensation of warmth where bodies had once been. These were not ghosts, but the raw residue of life itself, slowly shaping the world it now inhabited. The middle world was learning to hold itself together. Shapes began to emerge, intangible yet perceivable, forming a landscape that was neither solid nor void. Valleys of absence, hills of reflection, rivers of memory, currents that carried the essence of beings who had passed. And the awareness within it began to recognize other awareness, first faintly, then with clarity. Some awarenesses converged, forming clusters, subtle interactions that were not conversation, yet something resembling it. These clusters created the first sense of order, patterns that repeated, creating spaces that could contain multiple souls without merging them entirely. Boundaries formed, but they were not walls. They were differences in awareness, subtle and shifting. Every soul that passed contributed to this structure, whether it realized it or not. Those who lingered longer left deeper impressions, creating layers upon layers of consciousness. The world grew, slowly, deliberately, like a living memory. And yet, despite all this growth, it remained silent to the living. No one could see it, no one could touch it, and no one could fully understand it. Only those who had left their bodies could perceive it in full, and they perceived it differently every time. Some with clarity, some with confusion, some with dread, others with peace. Each arrival altered the middle world slightly, as if every soul wrote a line into an ever-growing manuscript, invisible yet tangible. With every passage, the middle world became more intricate, a vast tapestry of awareness and absence intertwined. But still, it was not complete. For every soul that understood a corner of it, countless others passed through unknowingly, leaving gaps, threads that stretched into nothingness, spaces that whispered possibilities rather than certainties. And slowly, the middle world began to take on a rhythm, a subtle pulse that marked the passage of time differently for each inhabitant. Some felt minutes stretch into eons, others hours dissolve into nothingness. And yet, through all of this, it remained calm, impartial, and unhurried. The middle world did not judge, it did not reward or punish, it merely existed as consciousness after life had left the body began to realize itself. And so it grew, layer upon layer, experience upon experience, until it became something tangible to those who passed through it, not a place of endings nor beginnings, but a space in between, eternal yet fleeting, invisible yet profoundly present. It was here that the first faint awareness learned patience, the first understanding of waiting without expectation. The first whispers of memory became the currents that would guide future arrivals. And in this quiet expanse, the middle world found its voice, not a voice of sound, but a resonance of existence itself, subtle, persistent, and eternal. And as more souls arrived, each carried a fragment of life, a memory, a spark of consciousness that blended into the endless fabric. And in that blending, the middle world learned to distinguish one from another, to create patterns of coexistence where chaos could have reigned. Some lingered unknowingly, some observed knowingly, and the middle world continued to expand around them, silently, patiently, without intention, waiting for the next ripple of awareness to join its eternal current. Soft, echoing whispers, low, vibrating hum, subtle, spectral tones. When a being dies, it does not immediately arrive in the middle world. There is a moment, fleeting yet infinite, where consciousness hangs suspended. It is the first awareness of transition, the first recognition that the body no longer defines existence. In that instant, the world feels hollow, as if the walls of reality themselves have softened, and every sound, every vibration of air, every echo of memory is magnified. Time stretches and compresses, creating a paradox where a single heartbeat might contain centuries of thought. The first sensation is always quiet. It is not fear, nor is it peace. It is the faintest hint of perception, a subtle noticing that something has changed. Awareness begins to feel itself separate, yet intimately connected to what has been left behind. The living world fades in a way that is neither cruel nor kind. It does not push the soul away, nor does it pull it forward. Instead, it simply becomes less relevant, like a dream slipping through fingers upon waking. Colors, textures, and sounds blend into a haze, not gone, but transformed. Memories emerge unbidden, fragments of moments that were once central, now rearranged into patterns the mind did not know it could create. Faces appear and vanish. Voices whisper without words, and emotions rise and fall with no clear origin. Each soul experiences this differently. Some recognize a familiar path, a comforting memory that guides them toward awareness. Others find themselves adrift, pulled by currents they do not understand. Some feel the weight of unfinished tasks, regrets, joys, and fears, all entwined into one slow-moving wave. The first moments after death are not uniform, but they share a singular quality: the perception of boundaries dissolving. Physical walls, time, distance, none of these matter anymore. consciousness stretches outward, reaching towards something not yet defined, something that is both vast and intimate. Shapes appear, intangible yet persistent. Currents of other consciousnesses intersect, brushing past, sometimes blending, sometimes recoiling. The sensation is profound, a quiet recognition that one is no longer alone. Some souls are drawn toward familiar sensations, the warmth of sunlight remembered, the sound of a voice loved long ago, the feel of a hand that was once held. Others are repelled, recoiling instinctively from memories that bring pain or confusion. Yet every soul contributes unknowingly to the formation of the middle world, leaving behind ripples in its invisible structure. These ripples become currents, tides, pathways that guide subsequent arrivals. Even the faintest thought, the tiniest fragment of awareness, leaves an imprint that cannot be erased. As consciousness settles into the middle world, the first awareness begins to understand a new form of perception. It is not sight as known to the living, nor hearing, nor touch. It is an awareness that senses patterns, relationships, and echoes. A soul might notice another without seeing it, recognize a memory without recalling it, or feel a presence without hearing it. And yet, they are the foundation for the complex network that will eventually structure the middle world. The transition is gradual. Some souls linger in this initial stage for what feels like years, others for moments that might seem like eternity. There is no judgment in this process, no measurement of worth. The middle world does not demand, it does not control. It simply exists, waiting, accommodating, observing. And in this waiting, the soul begins to learn patience, the quiet endurance of being. Some who arrive are unprepared. They struggle against the currents, resisting the dissolution of familiar boundaries. They cling to the living world, replaying their existence as if repeating a scene will grant them understanding. Others surrender immediately, allowing themselves to become part of the pattern, flowing with the currents, perceiving, adjusting, and growing. Each soul, whether resisting or surrendering, adds texture to the middle world, thickening its fabric, expanding its depth, and shaping its subtle contours. During these first moments, the first fragments of communication appear. Not words, but recognition, a faint acknowledgement of another presence. Two souls may brush past one another in this liminal space, sensing a similarity, a shared history, a resonance of being. Sometimes they linger together, forming temporary alignments before moving apart again. These ephemeral bonds create the first architecture of the middle world, a network invisible to the living, yet profoundly real for those who pass through it. In time, the soul begins to notice patterns within itself, thoughts of the living world, memories intertwined with awareness, echoes of other consciousnesses nearby. These patterns repeat, layer upon layer, forming the first rudimentary sense of order. Awareness learns to anticipate, to navigate currents, to sense disturbances, and to understand subtleties. Even in this early stage, the soul becomes part of something larger than itself, a vast system of interacting consciousnesses, each adding depth, complexity, and nuance. Some arrive disoriented, some arrive peaceful, some arrive curious. All arrive changed, forever suspended between what was and what will be. And all contribute to the unfolding of the middle world, even in these fragile first moments. The middle world, though incomplete, begins to breathe. It pulses softly, echoing the awareness it contains. And in that breath, the soul understands that it has entered a space where beginnings and endings are not defined, but where transition itself becomes an experience, a rhythm, a continuous unfolding of being. Here, in this first stage after death, the soul learns its first lessons: patience, observation, the impermanence of attachment, and the subtle interplay of presence and absence. These are the foundations upon which all future experiences in the middle world will rest. And though it is only the beginning, it is profound, infinite, and eternal in its quiet, deliberate unfolding. After the first moments of suspension, after awareness has begun to perceive itself separate from the body, the soul senses a pull. Not a force, not a command, not a choice. It is a subtle guidance, an invisible current leading towards something both familiar and unknown. The passage between the world of the living and the middle world is not a path carved in space or time. It is a current of perception, a movement of consciousness itself. Some call it a river, some a corridor, some a bridge, but all descriptions fall short. The soul is not moving in the conventional sense. It drifts, flows, and is carried along by forces it can neither name nor resist.
There is awareness, but no control. There is movement, but no friction. There is a sense of purpose, yet it is not given by anyone or anything. It simply is. Along this passage, the soul encounters fragments of the living world that linger stubbornly in the currents. Sounds of laughter, echoes of music, smells that cling to memory, all drift by as if the living and the departed share a tenuous boundary here. Soft, ghostly echoes, faint wind currents. Some souls cling to these fragments, grasping at them in longing or confusion, delaying their arrival in the middle world. Others let them pass without notice, surrendering entirely to the currents.
Those who resist feel time stretch and twist around them. Moments of memory repeat endlessly, looping like reflections in a hall of mirrors. For them, the passage is tortuous yet strangely necessary, a mirror of their own attachment to what has ended. Those who surrender experience a different rhythm, a flowing, calm, almost imperceptible expansion. They feel themselves merge with the movement, not as a loss of self, but as an extension of awareness.
The passage itself is alive, not with creatures, nor with light, nor with sound, but with the pulse of consciousness itself. Every soul that passes leaves a trace, a ripple that will subtly guide those who come after. Layers form over layers, patterns within patterns, currents intertwining, flowing past, brushing against one another without collision. These currents form the first architecture of movement in the middle world. Souls begin to sense others, not as objects, not as presences in a tangible sense, but as patterns of awareness. Recognition does not come through sight or hearing, but through resonance. It is a gentle acknowledgement. I am aware that you are aware, and we move together in this space.
Some fragments of awareness from the living world interfere with the passage, creating eddies and pockets where time bends irregularly. A fleeting thought, a fragment of emotion, a memory clinging too tightly, all these generate disturbances in the flow. Souls caught in these eddies may experience what feels like repetition, disorientation, or even a faint sensation of pain. And yet, these disturbances are part of the natural structure. They are the first lessons of navigation. They teach observation, patience, and the necessity of surrender. Every soul learns through experience alone how to move with the currents, how to sense the rhythm of the passage, and how to remain centered within itself even as the environment stretches and bends. The passage between worlds is not uniform. Some corridors are wide and slow, others narrow and twisting. Some souls encounter fragments of those who passed before, echoes of patterns that have existed for centuries. Occasionally, a soul may brush against another who has entered earlier, a fleeting touch of awareness that leaves both changed, even if neither fully understands why. These fleeting contacts create networks of recognition, invisible yet potent, forming early relationships and subtle structures in the middle world.
Awareness of self begins to expand in unexpected ways. A soul may suddenly perceive its own essence as distinct from all that it has been, while simultaneously feeling connected to the currents it flows within. This duality of separateness and unity forms the foundation of all that the middle world will become. The soul begins to notice its own movement within the passage, understanding that it contributes, however subtly, to the ongoing shape of the space it travels through. Even in this early stage, the middle world learns from every traveler. Currents shift, patterns adjust, and the invisible framework strengthens and grows more intricate.
Some souls resist entirely, holding fast to remnants of life. They linger near the boundaries, replaying memories, grasping for continuity, and delaying their integration. Some of these eventually collapse into the flow, exhausted by their own resistance. Others remain for much longer, adding depth and complexity to the patterns around them. Every soul, whether willing or unwilling, becomes part of a living network of consciousness, a weave of awareness that stretches beyond time and perception. The passage is neither beginning nor end. It is a corridor of becoming, a space where consciousness learns the first lessons of existence without form. Patience, surrender, observation, recognition and resilience are the first guides here. And so, through this passage, the soul arrives, gradually, imperceptibly, into the middle world, not abruptly, not violently, not as a conclusion. It drifts in, learns to orient itself, feels the currents, senses the structures emerging from previous arrivals, and preparing to step fully into the middle world, where it will encounter layers, watchers, and laws that will shape its ongoing existence. The passage is infinite in detail, yet it is completed with every soul's arrival. Every consciousness contributes to the formation of order, even in what seems like chaos. And it is within this endless flowing corridor that the middle world grows, evolves, and waits patiently for all those who will follow. The middle world, though it appears seamless at first, is not a uniform space. It is layered, intricate, and deliberate, with zones of varying awareness, energy, and memory. These layers are not visible as walls or floors. They are perceptible only to consciousness. Each layer has its own rhythm, its own cadence, its own weight. Some pulse slowly, heavy with history. Others ripple lightly, almost imperceptibly, as if holding breaths of passing souls. A traveler entering this world senses the layering not with sight, but with perception itself. Awareness feels differently in each stratum, responding to forces both subtle and immense. The first layer encountered by most souls is the outer drift, a vast expanse of faint currents where consciousness floats freely. Here, memories of life remain vivid yet distorted. Sounds from the living world echo weakly, like fragments of half-remembered songs. Some souls linger here, drawn by attachment to familiar patterns. They drift among the residues of what they were, replaying moments endlessly. For some, this is comforting. For others, it is a torment, a limbo of self-reflection. This layer tests patience, teaching the first lessons of detachment and endurance. Beneath the outer drift lies the field of echoes, where awareness of others becomes apparent. Here the first true interactions occur, though indirect. Souls sense the presence of others without fully perceiving them. Their awareness brushes against another like a gentle wind passing through leaves, leaving faint impressions. Memories intertwine, creating currents that will guide subsequent arrivals. The field of echoes is a place of learning, the first understanding that one is never truly alone, even in separation. Some souls merge temporarily, forming subtle alignments that alter their perceptions forever. Others recoil, preserving their individuality. These early bonds, invisible yet powerful, are the foundation for the structure of all subsequent layers. The third layer is the shifting planes, a zone of movement and transformation. Currents here twist, overlap, and diverge, forcing awareness to adapt. Time behaves irregularly. Moments may loop, stretch, or collapse unpredictably. Inhabitants of this layer learn flexibility. Awareness must navigate, sense, and respond. Souls who fail to adapt may be carried by the currents, trapped in loops, or redirected to zones they did not anticipate. The shifting planes teaches that nothing in the middle world is fixed, and that stability is a product of adaptation rather than resistance. Deeper still lies the luminous hollow, a space of concentrated memory and insight. Here, the essence of all that has passed through converges. Past experiences coalesce into patterns that are both tangible and intangible. The awareness of souls in this layer is heightened. They perceive the echoes of those who came before, faint traces of arrivals yet to come, and subtle signals of the laws governing this world. The luminous hollow is a crucible of understanding, where reflection is magnified and the connections between life, death, and consciousness are revealed incrementally. Some souls remain here indefinitely, absorbed by the richness of experience. Others pass through quickly, drawn by currents deeper within.
Below the hollow, the pillars of form rise. These are not physical structures, but stabilizing currents that support the balance of the middle world. Every soul that arrives interacts with these pillars. Awareness flowing too strongly may unsettle them, while awareness in harmony strengthens the structure. The pillars are governed not by thought, but by presence. The currents themselves adjust, reshaping subtly to accommodate the flow of consciousness. It is here that the first lessons of coexistence and mutual influence become evident. Each soul's arrival, each ripple of attention, contributes to the resilience of the middle world.
Beneath the pillars lies the core veil, the layer closest to the hidden center, where the laws of the middle world are most clearly perceptible. Here, the currents are dense, slow, and deliberate. Awareness in this layer is heavy with the echoes of all that has ever passed. Souls sense permanence, inevitability, and the weight of accumulated transitions. Some who reach this layer experience clarity, a profound understanding of their place within the middle world. Others feel the vastness as overwhelming, a reminder of the incomprehensible complexity of existence beyond life. Yet the layers are not rigidly hierarchical. Currents flow between them, sometimes mixing elements of one with another. Souls drift upward or downward, carried by forces beyond perception. Some layers are experienced differently by different souls. One soul may find the outer drift turbulent and chaotic, while another experiences it as gentle and calm. Awareness adapts, interprets, and learns. The layers are living, not with consciousness like the souls themselves, but with the cumulative impressions, echoes, and currents left by countless arrivals. Within these layers, rules emerge organically. They are not decreed, but observed. Patterns form and repeat.
Awareness learns to navigate, to recognize rhythms, to sense where movement will carry it next. Interaction between souls, even subtle, is significant. Each passing ripple contributes to the complex architecture of the middle world. And here, in the layered depths, the first understanding of order, balance, and flow becomes apparent. Some layers are quiet, some tumultuous, some luminous, some shadowed. Some challenge the traveler, and some embrace them gently. Each layer provides lessons in observation, endurance, patience, and insight. No layer is permanent for any one soul. Movement is inevitable, change is continuous. And yet, despite the turbulence, a profound serenity underlies the entire structure. It is a calm born of balance, not stagnation, and it permeates all things. Through these layers, awareness expands and refines itself. Each soul contributes to the invisible scaffolding that supports this intricate world. Currents shift subtly to accommodate the flow of newcomers, and in doing so, the middle world grows, evolves, and deepens. Patterns of movement, memory, and interaction converge to create a space that is simultaneously infinite and intimate. This is the first true realization of what the middle world is, not a destination, not a prison, but a complex ecosystem of consciousness, a place of endless learning, reflection, and transformation. And so, as the traveler moves through the layers, they begin to sense the structure of a world that is invisible yet palpable, infinite yet intimately tied to each soul that passes. The middle world is alive in ways unseen, and in its depths, the first understanding of its vastness, permanence, and delicate balance emerges.
As the middle world grew in depth and complexity, certain presences began to emerge, entities neither fully alive nor fully departed. They were the Watchers and the Keepers. They were not gods, though they had existed longer than most souls could comprehend. They were not rulers, for the middle world requires no sovereign to govern. Yet they carried awareness, order, and vigilance, ensuring that the endless currents of consciousness did not collapse into chaos. Their purpose was subtle, silent, almost invisible, and their presence was felt rather than seen.
The Watchers are the first to be noticed by arriving souls, though rarely in clear form. They manifest as shifts in the currents, as patterns in the flow, as whispers of awareness brushing the edges of perception. Some travelers sense them as warmth, a gentle guidance, a sense of direction. Others feel them as cold, distant, untouchable, reminders that the middle world has depth beyond immediate understanding. These entities observe, record, and occasionally intervene, though intervention is not forceful. It is a nudge, a slight adjustment, a redirection of currents to prevent souls from becoming lost entirely.
The Keepers, by contrast, are stationary in their focus. They maintain the structure of the layers, monitoring balance and stability. Their perception stretches across vast zones simultaneously, sensing every ripple of consciousness and every subtle alteration in the currents. Unlike the Watchers, who move fluidly with the flow, the Keepers are anchors, ensuring that the middle world remains resilient. Their presence is heavier, more tangible in a way that the mind can almost touch, though no one has seen them with physical eyes. Souls who linger near a Keeper feel a weight, a sense of gravity, as if the very air acknowledges its authority.
Each Watcher and Keeper has existed for durations beyond measure. Some predate the emergence of the first conscious arrivals. Their awareness is continuous, a record of every ripple, every echo, every lesson learned from countless souls traversing the middle world. Their knowledge is not communicated in words. It is transmitted subtly, through currents, through the rhythm of the passage, through fleeting impressions that leave the soul understanding a little more than before. A soul may sense a Watcher guiding it through a current without ever seeing it, yet it feels both safe and observed.
protected, and challenged. Interactions with these entities are rare but profound. Some souls feel themselves drawn into the presence of a watcher, experiencing patterns of thought and awareness that surpass anything they could have imagined in life. Others are drawn to a keeper, sensing the immense responsibility that these entities bear in maintaining equilibrium. These experiences leave an imprint, an understanding that the middle world is not random, that there is purpose here, though it is subtle, and that order emerges not from command, but from attention and presence.
The Watcher's methods are delicate. They do not enforce rules. They maintain observation. They note deviations, subtle disturbances, and inconsistencies. Souls who resist, who struggle against the flow of the middle world, are met with gentle nudges, currents redirected, patterns adjusted. The Watchers ensure that awareness does not collapse into loops of endless frustration or confusion. The Keepers stabilize zones where too many souls intersect, preventing entanglement, ensuring that each consciousness can move without causing unintentional disruption.
Their forms, when glimpsed, are fleeting, shimmering whispers, faint spectral echoes. Sometimes a soul perceives them as shifting shadows, like figures reflected on water. Other times as patterns of light, impossible to define or measure. Some claim to feel them as vibrations resonating in the core of being. These are not illusions, nor are they hallucinations. They are the presence of intelligence operating on a plane entirely different from mortal understanding. Awareness cannot fully comprehend them, yet it senses their purpose and inevitability.
And as each soul continues its journey, it begins to sense that these presences, Watchers and Keepers, are not separate from the middle world. They are its pulse, its rhythm, its invisible spine, maintaining equilibrium while remaining unseen, operating not by power, but by subtle, persistent, eternal awareness. Travelers may never meet them consciously, yet the rhythm of the middle world, its currents, its patterns, its unfolding, is shaped by these entities. They ensure that the passage, the layers, the currents, and the emerging structure remain cohesive. They preserve the continuity of awareness while allowing for infinite variation. And in their quiet presence, the middle world becomes more than a place. It becomes a living, breathing continuum, an ecosystem of consciousness, a space of endless learning, subtle guidance, and profound, almost imperceptible order.